Gigi's wigging out. Gigi, if it's CIA, bark. Let me know.
Conspiracy theories are entering a dangerous
Information is the oxygen of the democracy.
There's so much evidence out there that even if less than 1% is true, that would be enough to collapse the current paradigm and change the whole planet.
I've been watching Baron Coleman's streams for like the last 20 hours or something, catching up because I had seen his work. Here, let me go to his channel. I had seen his work, being reported on by like James Lee and Redacted and all these other places, and it's like legit. And I get it. And so I never really went to his stream and actually watched the whole stream because I had a lot of time. But it eventually caught up to me that like I should probably catch up with what Baron's doing and see what's going on here. And I've now watched almost all of every single video except for one of them. And what I realized is that someone's got to put this shit onto a timeline and figure out when all these searches were happening relative to the Charlie Kirk timeline, the TPUSA timeline, what's happening in the world while all these really weird Google searches are being done in Israel and Washington, D.C., and probably the FBI office in Huntsville, Alabama. So I built that. And I went through all of his videos and tabulated all of the relevant Google search trends that he's found and put it on a timeline that paints a pretty striking picture. If you somehow have been living under a rock and have not seen this dude's face and not seen what this dude is reporting on, I don't know where you've been, but we'll catch you up. I'll give you the fast version because the tough part, when people's information is hidden within a live stream, there's a huge time investment required to dig it out and to put it all together. And Baron's investigation has been going on for a month now over many live streams that build on each other. And you kind of have to watch them all in order to really get the context of what he's talking about. I highly recommend you do that. Right now, I would recommend, it's easy. You have a computer in front of you right now. I would recommend you open a new YouTube tab, search for Baron Coleman, and go and subscribe to him right this minute because his shit's fire. He's really interesting. He's got a great mind on this. And he's bringing some of the most concrete facts. Not like it's proving anything about like that person did it, but concrete facts about things that did happen that are extremely suspicious, that are digital, that is a digital footprint of what looks an awful lot like the planning of an assassination happening before the assassination. And so I just want to introduce you to him a little bit so you can get a feel for who he is and how this works, and we can show you the tool that he's using to grab this data and evidence. And then we'll skip ahead, and rather than watching, the 15 hours of live streams or whatever that I spent the last 2 days watching, we'll skip ahead from there to some of the more significant ones and kind of put it all together quickly so you can understand how groundbreaking this stuff is. So I just want to go to his intro real quick and let him speak in his own words.
I don't want it to be painful. I want this as painless as possible, but I didn't know how else to get this information out into the public. And I think it is disturbing enough that it needs to be out in the public. It is, frankly, one of the more disturbing things I've run across. But let me give you the background of how I did this. There's a search function in Google I learned about years ago. And everybody knows how to use Google. You open google.com and you get a search window and you start typing in your stuff. A lot of you have it as the default browser. So you just go up to where you would normally type like baroncoleman.com or
use Brave browser, folks. Brave browser, way better for your privacy, way better platform.
Whatever you would, you go up there and you just start typing something, closest grocery store, and it'll pop up a Google search because Google is your default search engine. But if you actually go to the google.com page, it'll give you a search window, but there are a whole lot of functionality you can do in that search window that most people don't know about. And the reason I'm confident most people don't know about it is when I ran by several very sophisticated, again, household names in some instances, names people that have advised presidents, advised on mega national matters and instances. And I said, hey, have you ever heard of this search functionality in Google called Google Trends? And several of them were like, no, never heard of it. What is it? What does it do? Some of them were like, I kind of heard of it, but I don't really know what it was. I first heard of it when I was advising for a grocery store chain, decade and a half ago, probably a long time ago. And I was a very small member of a team, but I was part of a team, and the team had a very sophisticated guy on it, and he had discovered this functionality on Google where you could go and you could sort of view what it was people were searching and when, and you could get
Makes a lot of sense why this tool would be useful for a grocery store chain.
trends related to it. And so I'll demonstrate that for you on something random, but I'll give you an idea of how it works, and then I'll explain where I first applied this to any sort of breaking national story. And then I'll explain how I applied it to Charlie Kirk. And then I'll explain one of the most disturbing things I've come across in a very, very long time.
Okay. So that's Baron. He's dope. And he says it a million times in his streams. So I'm just going to say it for him right now. He is not making the claim that what we're about to talk about is proof of any specific guilt from any specific person. He's not claiming that like this is going to show you who killed Charlie Kirk or who was it that was looking these things up. He's just showing you that this is what it is and it means what it means. So let's meet the tool. Google Trends. Oh, you're getting a sneak peek. So Google Trends tracks all of Google's searches all over the world all the time. And you can pull that data in various ways. And so earlier today, just as an example, I've never done this before about 2 or 3 hours ago. As an example, it's like you can search yourself and see how many people are searching for you. And in the past day in the United States, there's 2 spikes at 1:28 p.m. and at 2:24 p.m. Right before I went live earlier. Interesting. All across the United States. Just in the past day. If I expand it to the past 7 days, because I'm relatively a public figure, there's, some Google searches for me. What we are seeing on this chart is important to understand. The scale is 0 to 100 on the left. And that doesn't mean 0 searches, 100 searches. It means that in the time frame you're looking at, one of those days has the most searches. And here, that is this day, October 24th. Today. Oh, because it's breaking up by timeline. So whatever time frame you choose, it'll segment that into time sections. And then whichever time section has the most hits, that becomes 100%. And then every other day is relative to the big day. So in this case, if on this day, October 20, if right here in this time frame, I got 100 Google searches, then all the others are relative to that time frame of 100. And so 21% means 21 out of 100 searches. If I expand my time frame to 90 days, the whole scale resets. And now this is the biggest day, September 29th, 2025. That's the day out of this time frame, 90 days, where there were the most people Google searching me in the United States. And so all the other data points here are September 26th, 54% of this biggest day. Okay, that's what this means. And you can look at it in all kinds of ways across whatever time frame you want. So over the last year, kind of interesting, I had the most Google searches March 2nd to March 8th of 2025. I don't remember what I was doing, but I'm sure I was causing trouble somewhere. Then you can change it to be like in New York State. How many people are Google searching Ian? Interesting. It's that same time frame, March 2nd to March 8th. If anyone remembers in the chat what I was doing March 2nd through March 8th, let me know. So I was probably starting trouble. I was probably talking shit to Elon or something like that, I would guess. California. Right? So each different location with each different time frame will sort of yield a different window into it. But it's not terribly granular. You can't tell who's searching it. You can't tell exactly where it's coming from. And you can't tell exactly how many searches it is. And with someone that's a public figure, it's not all that helpful in this context because there's going to be a lot of Google searches for someone in my position or for someone even more popular or famous than me. And so you got to take the tool for its own limitations as what it is. But it is all real data. It is all actual searches that actually happen. And if there is data on these charts, those were real searches. And so I wonder if it'll still show up because earlier today, just for the funny of it, I was like, you can also search internationally, right? And so over the past 12 months in Israel, there's no significant data to show that people in Israel are searching for Ian Carroll. Thank God. Thank God. But then I reduced the time frame to 30 days and to 60 days, and it was like, cool, nothing's showing up, nothing's showing up, nothing's showing up. And on one of the time frames, it showed me a little blip. And so I opened up the 7-day time frame and noticed that in Israel, there are searches for me on October 20th at 11 p.m. and October 21st at 5 a.m. And it might just be a few searches. It might just be like 4 Google searches and 1 Google search kind of a thing. Although 21% doesn't really equal 1/4, but you know what I'm saying? So on October 20th, someone was searching for me in Israel. What was I doing on October 20th? I don't know. Maybe I was... This is actually a slightly different day than we honed in on earlier. Because it can be a little shifty as far as what... 6 days ago? Yeah, so October 20th was 2 days after my last Free Speech Friday. 2 days after I did this whole live Free Speech Friday about the Israeli propaganda machine and about all the Jewish donors and about all the organizations they have and their skirting of FARA. It was a very critical stream, let's just say. And so maybe it's a coincidence, but my best guess would be that people in Israel were probably Google searching me because they were not exactly stoked about the live stream that I had done. And I'm not saying that like Mossad was Google searching me. I'm just saying that people in Israel were Google searching me. And maybe they're just regular civilians that are just curious. Maybe they're hyped. Maybe they're homies that are in the chat right now. Or maybe they were people like that don't like me. Who knows? You can only ascribe as much as you can ascribe to it. And it's really all speculation beyond the fact that Google searches happened. Okay? That's layer 1 of this idea.
A very long time. And I've discovered.
And Barron walks us slowly into this idea like I did, where he shows us, he used the Atlanta Braves as a basic search to show what trend lines tend to look like and why you can't use this technique on big things that are popular that get lots of Google searches. You have to use it on things like someone's full name or an address or, you know, stuff like that. So then he searched Tyler James Robinson, which is Tyler Robinson's full name. Most of us don't know Tyler Robinson's full name, but it is Tyler James Robinson.
Tyler James Robinson. So I did a search for Tyler James Robinson nationally over the entire United States for the past 7 days. And you'll notice the gigantic spike right after the news broke. But I noticed right over here, there was a little blip on September 9th at 7 p.m. Damn, that's weird.
That is weird.
And keep in mind, this is a blip large enough to show up on an index at a 2. Now, granted, I'm going to keep going. You're going to be surprised by what I show you here in a few minutes. It's a blip large enough to show up as a 2 the day before the Kirk shooting. The day before the Kirk shooting, someone in the United States searched Tyler James Robinson, the full name, first, middle, last name of the shooter. Now, what's interesting about that is I've not seen him listed anywhere as Tyler James Robinson. I've seen Tyler Robinson a lot. I've seen his mom's name. I think her name was Amber.
Okay, so not going to sit around and watch the whole thing. I recommend that you do go watch the whole thing because he gets into more granular detail. And he looks up different locations and he hones in. And he also looks for other locations where there is no data and he shows you that. And so the granularity of watching his whole stream is important because you get the context that it's not he's not just like cherry picking random things and being like, look, there's a crazy trend. He's looking all over and he's showing you that like, no, it's just searched in this one place at this one time, not anywhere else, not any other time. That's weird. And what he realizes is that Tyler James Robinson was searched the day before the shooting in the United States, and he hones in on realizing that Tyler James Robinson was searched in Washington, D.C. at 12 p.m. the day before the shooting. And he was searched in Huntsville, Alabama at 4 p.m. the day before the shooting. And Huntsville, Alabama is a weird place, but he knows from his time looking into Thomas Matthew Crooks, which is where he first started applying this technique to crimes like this, to high-profile cases. He knows that in Huntsville, Alabama, there's an enormous FBI field office. And so Huntsville, Alabama shows a lot of blips on a lot of searches that he winds up doing. And then also the District of Columbia at 9 p.m., there was a huge signal. And that is not what's on screen there. That's District of Columbia. District of Columbia. And then he shows... Oh, and then he's on to something else. I must have skipped over it. So That's the technique that's being used here. And this is just the start. Tyler James Robinson is just the start.
That would be enough to collapse the current paradigm and change the whole planet.